So welcome. We shall be starting our session for the day. My name is Mungai Njoroge. I think we met during the other session, which was reporting and dissemination. So welcome for this other session, and that is developing a comprehensive monitoring and evaluation plan. So I'm going to give your colleagues 2 minutes to join. So we start at 5:40. And as I had posted on the WhatsApp, there are session activities that will be part of our presentation today, especially the first 3 session activities. So in the meantime, you could go to your WhatsApp, look at those activities, reflect upon them, so that as we discuss this topic, you can follow through and it can be meaningful to you. I'd mentioned that we shall get started at 5:30. It's now 10, almost 10 past the hour of starting. So I don't know whether this is the pattern or the others will rely on the recorded messages or recorded session. So if you can hear me, I need someone to.
I can hear you.
Yes.
I'm Kamau from Kemi.
Yes, Kamau.
The one supporting the session.
Thank you, Kamau.
Yes, thank you and welcome.
All right, so we can get started. Kamau, is that it?
We only have 4 participants. We only have 4 participants. And I can see like 8 already had registered earlier.
Okay.
I don't know where they are, but at least let's give them some another 5 minutes. Maybe now we can proceed.
Okay. So in the meantime, those who have logged in, um, please check on the WhatsApp and look at the activities, the session activities, and reflect. The first activity is on just a review. Now that we are coming to the tail end of the course, just a refresher activity on by now, what is your definition of monitoring and evaluation? And what will be the relationship between monitoring, evaluation, and learning? So that's the first activity. And then the second activity is on the value of a comprehensive monitoring and evaluation plan. So the guiding prompt there is describe the value of a comprehensive monitoring and evaluation plan. In particular, why do we need a monitoring and evaluation plan? That is almost like asking, why do we need you to pursue monitoring and evaluation? Remember in the other course and the other topic we talked about monitoring and evaluation professionals. So what is the place of monitoring and evaluation professionals in the various sectors? Then the third activity is discuss the core components of a comprehensive monitoring and evaluation plan. So in your thinking, having gone through the course, what do you qualify as as key components to consider when designing a monitoring and evaluation plan? So we can be reflecting on those questions and then we get started as we wait for the other colleagues to join in the next 5 minutes time. So we'll get started at 10 minutes to 6.
I concur that will be a good time so that we can find a good quorum that we can actually proceed with.
Well guided, thanks.
In progress. In progress. In progress. In progress. In progress.
Mungai Joroge.
Yes.
Mungai Joroge.
Yes. On call, sir.
Oh. I think we have a good quorum of 8 people
Okay.
so that we can proceed because it's almost 3 minutes to 6. At least we go ahead with the assignment.
Oh,
Submissions, that
okay.
is. Yeah.
Okay. Welcome. It's now 6. What we use the first 30 minutes to just go through the activities. So by the end of this session, the objective here is that you should be able to develop, my apologies for the error in the typing there, develop a comprehensive monitoring and evaluation report or plan, not report, plan. So as I mentioned, we are at the tail end of this course. We've defined what is monitoring and evaluation. We've looked at ways of stating a problem or an issue of concern that requires to be monitored, sources of issues, depending on the sector from which you come from or you work. You could identify a problem or an issue of concern that requires to be monitored. It could be an objective, could be a task, that could be internal for the organization, could be donor funded, or an issue of interest to the stakeholders. Then we looked at how to design tools for collecting data, identifying source of information, looking at various processes. Could be, if you're dealing with individuals, then you need probably to administer a questionnaire. So that is quantitative data. And then Could also look at if you are collecting data from humans, then you could use interviews that could inform or provide you with qualitative data. Then we also went through some of the sessions on reporting, and also we discussed dissemination of the findings or the monitoring and evaluation report. So what are the qualities of a good report? Who are the stakeholders? Then how do you disseminate and the channels for dissemination? So my last interaction with you was on that topic of reporting and dissemination. So today we look at it's more of a backward design. I would want to call it that way, backward design. How do you plan for all those activities that I've just mentioned in summary? And it goes back to the question, what is monitoring and evaluation? And what is the relationship between monitoring, evaluation, and learning? Or the underlying question there could be, why are you conducting monitoring and evaluation? So I invite you to share your thoughts. I said in my sessions, I like us to engage in a discourse, just like we did the other time. On a lighter touch, nasema hii ni masomo ya Gumbaro. Masomo ya Gumbaro, there is no right or wrong answer. Just pick up your mind and share your thoughts. And in this 21st century skill, in the information age, information is out there. It's how we package the information, how you articulate it, how your peers critique it and give you their version. Then you agree or disagree, but respectfully. So there are no right or wrong answers. It's a question of just interpretation. In the sector where I come from, that is the education sector, in the competency-based education dispensation, we talk about learning to learn as one of the core competencies. So learning to learn is that you empower the learner to be the source of information. The learner can be able to inquire. The learner is thoughtful, and the learner is not empty. And the teacher becomes the facilitator, or to facilitate by the side the process of understanding. And when you do that, you build what we call, you help learner to be self-efficient. So there's also that competency of self-efficacy. So we would want you to be, as monitoring and evaluation professionals, to be self-efficient. One indicator or one way of nurturing self-efficacy is to speak up your mind about your ideas or thoughts that come across, or if you have used the AI, what do you think AI is telling us? So I invite, it's an open forum. So one of us or two, just share your thoughts on monitoring and evaluation, because our understanding of monitoring and evaluation and the relationship will influence the kind of plan and the components. So that will be our starting point. So I'll pause and welcome. So feel free, you can put it on the chat, and also I would encourage also unmuting. We did so well the other time when we were looking, when we were engaging in a discourse about reporting and dissemination. So karibuni.
Maybe Mwalimu, I can give it a go.
Thank you. Awesome. Go ahead.
So monitoring and evaluation is just a way, a system of tracking progress, of checking how a project is doing and whether it's actually helping, maybe making the organization better. So how monitoring and evaluation and learning, the relationship that they have. Monitoring is an ongoing process. So everything that you're doing in that project, if it's data collection, everything as you go is being monitored. So it's checking the progress while we are still going on with the project, just to ensure that we're on track. And when we go to evaluation, how can I put it? Evaluation is where we use the monitoring data, the data that we've picked from the monitoring stage, to see if things are working well, and if they're working well, how are they working well, and what is not working well, what needs to be changed, what needs to be maintained so that the project can go on seamlessly. So this is where to reevaluate, to see if we need to drop this, we need to have this, we need to continue with this. And learning is where we have completed the monitoring and evaluation stage. So now we have all the relevant stakeholders in place. So we're telling them this worked well. This is what needs to be done better. So this will aid them in making better decisions. So when we are looking at a school context, for the monitoring part is, if we have training for the teachers, are the teachers attending the training? Are the training sessions actually happening? So that is where we are tracking the progress of if the trainings are taking place, if what is being maybe taught in the training is actually helping the teachers. In the evaluation, an example is the same school context. After the training has been conducted, the training sessions, are the teachers better at what they're doing? Are they teaching in a better way? Are learners able to comprehend what they're being taught? And so for the learning is what needs to be improved. After the training, we reevaluate and see how things are going, and if there's any gap that is still existing, what needs to be improved or what needs to be changed, just to make sure that things are still going on properly. So that's what I can explain. Thank you.
Awesome. We appreciate that feedback. So in Zoom, there's a reaction. I don't know whether you've been using this reaction button. So as colleagues in the classroom, tunasemanga mpigieni makofi. So here, because we are engaged in a discourse, we need to appreciate and affirm each other. So thank you so much. So if you feel a point has been spoken, and you just feel free to go to the reaction button and clap. Thank you so much. I welcome an additional feedback, so that we are not, we don't go against the constitution. We need a gentleman also to air their voice, their interpretation of what is M&E and the relationship between monitoring, evaluation, and learning.
Thank you, Mwalimu.
Okay, karibu.
Asante. This is Roy Samuel.
Go ahead,
Now,
Samuel. Thank you.
I want to answer why do we need an M&E plan? Or another way I can say, why is an M&E plan important? What is the importance of an M&E plan? So one, or
Samuel.
yes, sorry.
Oh, Samuel, okay. You are, that could be the third activity?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. Would I request you please to hold on to that until we get to that one, so that we just dispense of this one. So hold that thought on why we need an M&E.
Okay.
But feel free also to what is on the screen there, just to
Yes.
share
Yes.
any thoughts on what is an M&E so far after those 7 or 6 weeks of learning. What is your interpretation of M&E?
Yes. So my interpretation of an M&E is that I can say monitoring is all about routine collection of data on projects, inputs, activities, or even immediate outputs. And this one will help the organization or the person collecting the data to identify the challenges. And once somebody has identified the challenges, obviously, he will have the solutions to the challenges. Then evaluation is all about assessment of an ongoing project or either completed projects or even its implementation, and the results to determine whether the project is successful, whether it is sustainable, and the lessons also learned from the implementation of that project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's appreciate. Thank you for that response. Monitoring, I'll just use an analogy. I say most of my analogies would come from my context, and my context is in education. I remember when I taught mathematics and chemistry in one of our high schools, I was assigned as the teacher on duty. So one of the function of a teacher on duty is to ensure that the school routine is followed. Okay. So there's time for where learners are supposed to be in class, and there is the time they're supposed to be outside. And sometimes when they're in class, they're supposed to be with teachers. And there are those times that they used to have private study. So there were indicators of whether the school routine is being followed. So sometimes we could use the strategy of monitoring called MBWA, monitoring by walking around. So you just do spot check, move from class to class. So in that case, the monitoring aspect is just looking as to whether the school program is being followed. So that's the attainment. Then evaluation, meaning that we used to have a book where we could write the lessons of the day in terms of the occurrence, and our principal used to emphasize that the documentation within the occurrence book should be value-based or value judgment. You should make a judgment based on the expectations of the day in terms of the school routine, and to what extent was the school or did the learners in particular adhere to. And the importance of making that judgment was that you want to ensure that the teacher who is going to come back or the next day or the next week for the duty, they are able to the information that you have documented based on assessing the adherence to the school program, the value or the judgment that you've made would help to make up interventions. Either your interventions for tomorrow, if learners are getting late, maybe in from break time to class, or even the teachers are delaying the learners in class instead of allowing learners to go and relax or to undertake the next activity. So the value judgment that you document would inform interventions for continued improvement. If you're familiar with ISO standards, the basic ISO standard 9001 2015, and I'm happy Kemi is also ISO certified. One of the chapters in ISO, chapter 10, talks about continued improvement. So you can monitor adherence to standards, then make value judgment. Then from the value judgment, you need to make decisions or interventions. Okay? So it is the learning part, the evaluation and the learning part, that is so crucial when it comes to designing a monitoring and evaluation plan. Okay. So within the monitoring and evaluation relationship cycle, as you can see, those are interrelated. You know, what you monitor, what you evaluate, and learning. It's a cycle. So when you're thinking about the plan should ensure that that cycle, the three components of that cycle, the monitoring, what are the components that will ensure that you do effective monitoring? Okay. And then when it comes to evaluation, what judgments are you making? And then what insights will inform the subsequent improvement of the organization or the target objectives? So remember, when we were handling the session reporting and dissemination, if you don't include the learning part, then the monitoring and evaluation may end up being just a document, another document that gathers dust. So you could have designed very good monitoring, could have documented very informative or strategic or significant value judgments, and those ones we call them recommendations. So you could have them documented well in a report. But if your monitoring and evaluation plan does not involve dissemination, and we disseminate the learning to the stakeholders for action, for improvement, then you don't have a complete monitoring, evaluation, and learning. So we call it a meal, a full meal. I like calling it a meal. Chakula cha kukula. So the value of a comprehensive monitoring and evaluation plan. So why do we need? And I think here is where Samuel, you come in. Samuel, you had started sharing your thoughts about why do we need an M&E plan. So go ahead, Samuel, and share your thoughts.
Thank you, Mwalimu. So why do we need an M&E plan? So for me, the reason as to why we need an M&E plan is, one, it is for accountability. So you need to demonstrate to the donors or to the stakeholders how you have used the resources or the funds in a particular project. Then the other one is it helps in decision making. You see, monitoring and evaluation is all about data. So the data you have collected, either from the project or from the field, will help you to make the decision on the next step, or on the next decision to make. Then finally on performance. Now, it will help you to identify where there are gaps, risks, weakness, and that will give you a way forward or a solution to that challenge or that problem. Thank you.
Oh, my apologies. I think I got lost, got thrown out. Samuel, are you through?
Yes, I'm through.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Let's appreciate Samuel. So any other person want to share their thoughts on why we need monitoring and evaluation? Want to abide with the constitution or any other? Just go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I'm Isaac.
Yes, Isaac.
Yes, I'm thinking about the two processes, that is monitoring and evaluation, and how they are likely to lead to learning, so that if we are looking at an organization, then we are asking ourselves whether the organization is able to learn or to get to know what is working, why it is working, maybe, and maybe consider how to improve anything in future. So I was thinking more in terms of how much one can be able to learn from the two processes, that is monitoring and evaluation.
Okay, thank you, Isaac, for that feedback. So let's appreciate Isaac. Thank you. Another feedback. We need to comply with the constitution.
Okay, why monitoring and evaluation plan?
Yes.
One, for the effectiveness, to check the effectiveness of the project. In this, I mean, M&E plan, it helps in actually to check whether we are actually achieving our goals. What we set for the project, are we really achieving it? So this is checked well through the M&E plan. Then we have for effective allocation of resources. So M&E plan help us to decide Where do we need to put more resources? Where do we need to put more effort as far as improvement on our project and success of the project is concerned? It also helps us to be accountable in everything that we do, because in everything we have accurate data that help us to monitor all the undertaking. Then last, it helps us in identifying gaps. We find there are some situations we find that this was not working right, so we need either to change or to shift the resources from this project and put more resources on this. Thank you very much. My sharing.
Yeah, thank you. Powerful sharing. Why importance of monitoring the evaluation? I want just to speak from my context of education. And when you want to understand some of these concepts, they are not new. We are just giving a concept and calling it monitoring, another one evaluation, and then learning. But these are, if you look at your daily experiences within the work that you do, or even probably at home, you're monitoring a certain behavior of the adults, the adolescents that you have, you can start noting some changes in behavior, and you make sense, you evaluate, and then you make judgment, okay, and provide interventions. Now, I want just to share in my context of in education. I served as a head of department, guidance and counseling. And nani huyo anajoin klasi yetu na hajamute? So in one of the activities that we were given, there was a question in guidance and counseling. We were monitoring school strikes. Why are learners going on strike? And this going on strike, can it be arrested in time? And you need to monitor learners' behavior. If you're careful and you are able to monitor learners' behavior, most of the strikes that take place in school, we saw that they can be arrested on time. So if you are keen, remember I mentioned about being on duty as a teacher and looking at the adherence to the school program. In addition to adherence to the school program, you know your learners in terms of the culture of the school. Like in the school that I taught, I don't know whether they've stopped that culture. Always, the motto there was free to serve. And they could carry the spoon at their back pocket. When I kept on asking, it's not yet lunchtime, why are you carrying? You say, no. This spoon, we carry it at the back pocket because we are ready to serve. Okay. In the guidance and counseling, we noted in one of the seminars that we undertook, and we were analyzing causes of strikes and the impacts of strikes by learners. And it was notable that out of all the distractions that learners make in a school, they can break the window panes, they can even burn the dormitories. But the first place that they ban or they do a lot of damage if it is in boarding, it is the boarding facilities. And then the question is why? Why is that the case? And we did a 7-case analysis of the strike reports. And in that case analysis, the topic was on behavior modification and interventions, guidance and counseling. We noted that the object of anger mostly is you could look at the extent of destruction on items or physical facilities and infrastructure within the school, and you could tell. You can make now. Monitoring is you are picking, you are checking through a questionnaire or a checklist on where damage was done, and you evaluate. You look at the magnitude of the judgment, and what do you learn from it? We could see that the dormitories, see the staff room, you could see the tuition. But for the boarders, it is mostly the boarding facilities. And when we did further interviews of learners, you could find that they consider school program as a prison. And one thing that they are sure of is that when they do away with the dormitory or they cause severe damage, then they are sure that they will get the freedom by going home. Okay? But in terms of also learning, you noted that in those indicators, if they are aggressive or they are aggrieved by the school administration, then they would also damage the school administration. So, and you look at the bone of contention is the rigidity of the school program. Remember, I mentioned when I was in teacher on duty, you look at the adherence of the school program for the learners' side, but the culprits here could be also the teachers in terms of adherence. Lunch programs are that 1 hour lunch program, both for day scholars and also the boarders. It's a very important break from that cognitive engagement. And psychologists say that the engagement of learners for those young minds, it can't last more than 40 minutes. And no wonder the lessons are 40 minutes. So you find that it is break time and they want to go to relieve themselves. They want that commercial break. But they find that the teacher is still extending, So you could look at the indicators of the destruction, which places are severely destroyed by the learners. So if you find that it is the administration block, then the interpretation or the learning or the evaluation that you have to do is what could be making them throw stones or damage the principal's office, damage the teacher on duty, all right? And even smashing the cars of certain teachers and leaving others. And another finding is still within the monitoring, the learning, the learning that you get. If you have a good plan, it will give you good results that you can make a judgment. Is that learners never ban. This is something you can try to find out, even from all the strikes. Learners, they never ban, whether day scholars or boarders, they never ban their school bus. They can destroy anything else, but their school bus, no, they can't. So for you to be able to make interpretation of such reports, you must plan for proper tools. You must plan for you must know the intended stakeholders who are going to be consumers of that. You must plan for proper analysis of data, because why I'm bringing this interpretation of monitoring through guidance and counseling is that if you don't plan for enough time for reflection of the findings, then you could end up having the report but no meaningful findings. So as you have indicated there, or as has been discussed by the three, Isaac and the colleagues, accountability, decision-making, learning, and resource allocation. Those are key reasons as to why we should have our comprehensive monitoring and evaluation. So I don't know, is there anyone who would want to add any addition from the list of the key? Those are the 4 key values, indicators, accountability, decision-making, learning, and resource allocation. So now we get to the components. We've discussed the importance. What is M&E? What is the benefits of M&E? So what are those components? What are the core components of a comprehensive M&E? And here, we don't necessarily want them in any order. It's just brainstorming so that we come up with our own template. And I'm happy the template that we shall come up with for your project. We can use our own generated template for the final project. So if you are to now being a monitoring and evaluation professional in your organization, and you are the team leader, okay, and you are in your performance contracting, one of your targets is to implement a monitoring and evaluation activity. So if you are to sit down and lead a team to conceptualize where you are going to start and where you're going to end, what are the components? What components would you include as part of your monitoring and evaluation plan? So feel free to unmute and tell us and share with us. And also, if you are unable, wherever you are, to unmute, feel free also to put it on the chat. So thank you,
Thank you,
Bilo.
Mwalimu.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mwalimu. Let me try. One of the components of NEM&E is is indicators. We have the indicators. We have the data collection methods. We also have baselines and targets. We also have goals and objectives. The rest can also add.
The rest.
Yes, I think I can add here
Okay, go ahead.
that possibly we also need a proper or a suitable title for that project that we are carrying out. And in this case, I mean, if it is some information that maybe the institution has assigned someone to collect data about. So in this, it is that question in bracket, what are we collecting the data for? Maybe we want to look at the reasons why we are having low enrollment rate in some of the schools in the county, yet we are having other institutions having high enrollment rate. So that becomes the title in this case, that we're looking at the reasons behind the low enrollment rate in an institution.
Thank you very much. For those two, may go to my React. You know, when we're facilitating online without using for Zoom, without using the React, I feel like I've not done justice. So applaud those who have given some feedback. I'm interested in that topic that you have just come up with, monitoring low. You've said low enrollment. So low enrollment of learners.
I said a low enrollment rate of learners in rural schools.
Okay, low enrollment of learners in rural school. So I would like us to go with that. That is the problem that we have.
Mm-hmm.
So as a in our session, so that we put a context to the component, I would like us to think through, and as a class, come up with a monitoring and evaluation plan. I know we can see from the chat, we've talked about Esther, you've talked about inputs, outputs, activities, outcome. Then Patricia, you've talked about budget, resources to implement. Now, just like we say, we want to put the face behind a name. If we want to put a face behind the name, we'll tell you to maybe show you allow Zoom to give you a video, so that we can see the name. So now looking at going with that topic that has been suggested, low enrollment, we want to monitor the reason as to why there is low enrollment in rural area. So what that being our problem or our statement of the problem, and we want to come up with a plan. What are those components of M&E? So I would like us to speak through them. If it is input, we say, what shall we require? So we actualize, not abstract terms, but now that we have a real problem that we shall do a monitoring and evaluation as suggested. Let's think through. We want to monitor low enrollment of learners in rural schools. Okay. And as we think through, I would like us also to weigh in on the statement that developing a comprehensive monitoring and evaluation plan is a systematic multi-step process essential for transforming raw project data into actionable insights for strategic direction making, for strategic decision making and accountability. And so the first component or the process is to define the project goals and logic. And I think we have largely defined one as an example. That is low enrollment of learners in rural schools. Okay, so the foundation of an M&E plan is a clear understanding of the project's logic and intended results. So we want to know, why is there low enrollment of learners in rural schools? So you need to establish what you call a result chain. You must map the logical flow from the resources to long-term change. So what would be the inputs here, looking at that problem that we have, low enrollment? So what would be the inputs? What would be the activities, the outputs? What do we expect as the outcomes and impact? Saidiane. You know, it's not enough to know that within the components, you need to define project goals and logic. You'll take that as the notes that you have learned from this course, but utajipata peke yako huko as a lead person, as a lead team. Once you get the certificate, you'll utajipata peke yako huko with that problem. So it helps to unpack what are these inputs. So the scenario here is low enrollment. So what inputs do we need? So let's put the faces behind the word inputs, activities, expected outputs, and the expected impact.
Maybe to comment on inputs.
Thank you, Esther Cherono. In the chat, you are talking about one of the input is student performance record. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that? To qualify why you think that would be that would be an input. In case you are not in a position to speak, probably could also type to qualify that. Please don't be so silent. Tulisema ni masomo ya Gumbaro. All answers are correct. You just need to listen to your colleagues or peer giving a critique of your responses, but all answers are correct.
Hello.
Yes,
Okay.
go ahead.
I think maybe what can also bring the low enrollment in rural schools, the number of teachers posted in some rural schools. Maybe if, like for example, in a situation where we only have 3 teachers posted in a school, So maybe some of the parents will realize that maybe the human resource power is low. Maybe they can look for another alternative where they can find more teachers. So they think that if the number of teachers are low, then there's no effective teaching and learning taking place in that school.
Oh, okay. Thank you for sharing that. One more verbalization of the inputs.
Well, I'm thinking in terms of when we are talking of law, I think we would need a tool to give us data, which is going to quantify what is this that is law. For example, maybe attendance register, school attendance registers maybe can be tools which can give us maybe a figure, a number, which can quantify law.
Awesome. Thanks, Isaac. And I agree, and I like what I'm reading on the chat and what I'm hearing being shared. So think of you are going for camping. I think that you're organizing, or maybe like now we are headed to Easter celebration, and we've just concluded Eid Fitr. Oh, okay, so those occasions, or think of a birthday, or those on a lighter touch. For me, I don't celebrate birthday. Mtu akiniambia kona birthday, namwambia now I can't give you a present. I can only give you a mother, because your mom is the one and your parents are the ones who had a birthing day. You now, how do we celebrate you? Because you are born. You should be celebrating those who. So that's on a lighter touch. But my point here is, when you're planning for visitors, or you're planning for an occasion, wedding, birthday, okay, there are some inputs. So we don't need to think so hard. What are the inputs to ensure that that activity or that material day goes successful? So we want to monitor low enrollment rate of learners in rural school. So yes, we need tools. Okay, we need to conceptualize the tools. We need funding. Okay. And we need that data of attendance, as Isaac has rightfully mentioned. Okay. Population data. Okay. So that we can be able to determine the attrition rate or dropout rate of learners. What are the reports that are indicated? We may need to think through. We've just mentioned tools, but what would be the sources of data? Okay. You need to look at the guidance and counseling records to find out what are some of the cases, discipline records. Okay. May also need to find out from the child welfare within that, if it's a sub-county, what are some of the reports about, and even hospital, maybe records. Is there a pandemic within that region? What are the socioeconomic, the reports from KIPRA, and see, because you need also some kind of literature review to understand. You can't go blindly out there to look for, yes, there is a low enrollment within a rural area, but what are the factors that contribute to low enrollment in schools in general? So you need a literature review. as an input to inform your work. Okay, so the inputs can be as diverse. And the point here of emphasis is that even as you look at the component, you need to put the face behind the name. So if you talk about inputs, start thinking through what inputs will I require. And you note that if you don't have proper inputs, then you'll not have proper monitoring indicators. And if you don't have robust tools for data collection, and robust tools would come from a thorough literature review that you conduct about the problem. And we talk about generativity or the funnel approach. No, what are the best practices world over, or what is the world concerned about this, maybe at the global scale, and then at the regional scale, and then also within the context of Kenya. And if there is low enrollment in urban, in rural, we also what's the kind of enrollment within the urban setting, and do a comparative. Would find that some factors that cause low enrollment within urban could repeat themselves within the rural. Because again, you could be in urban, and urban, the profile of urban also varies. You know, there could be urban in Runda, okay, Kileleshwa, Lavington. Is the dropout the same as other places like Korogocho, you know, Kibra, Mathare, you know? So the point here is that the inputs need to be thought through careful, and then the activities. What are the activities? So let's put the name, the face behind the name, looking at the problem that we have already defined: low enrollment in the rural. What are some of the activities that you'll engage in within that to solve that or to monitor that problem? Let's unpack some of the activities, and you'll find that in our unpacking, we are unpacking for low enrollment, but to a great extent, what we are unpacking cuts across other problems or other issues for monitoring. So what are some of the activities? So feel free to put it on the chat and also to unmute and share your thoughts.
I can respond to this.
Yes, go ahead, please. Thank you.
I think one of the activities that can be carried out is doing data collection within the community to establish how many learners are at home, they are not attending schools, and possibly also looking at the population distribution within the locality. Maybe can also be the contributing reason as to why there is low enrollment in a particular school in that society. So data collection should be done.
Awesome, awesome. Data collection. Thank you. Another one? Some of the activities.
Mwalimu, I have in mind community engagement to encourage learners to be enrolled more from various communities, like
Awesome.
chief
Awesome.
barazas. That's what I have
Awesome.
in mind.
Awesome. Yeah. Think about intervention. Remember we said report writing, dissemination. Those are some of the activities you have to plan, isn't it? Yeah. Awesome. Another one? Yes, Patricia, thank you. You on the chat, you're talking about community mobilization meetings to establish reason. Okay, so that's data collection, and you need to mobilize. If you do talking about community mobilization, then probably the activity there could be focus group discussion as part of data. So note that when we mention data collection, then there are so many other sub-activities that go with that. Okay. Any other? So note that when talk about activities, they are diverse and it depends with how robust is your monitoring, how well endowed is your funding. We know resources are also limited. Pilot activity, pilot. You could pilot your tools. And in terms of checking the validity, reliability, all those principles. Will your tools measure what? Okay, you're talking about low enrollment. So the tools that you have defined, are they going to measure that construct? So piloting. And piloting, depending on how robust your tool is, or your monitoring and evaluation, as I've mentioned, depending on the funding. I think we've mentioned reporting as part of the activity. How is the data going to be analyzed? So data analysis is an activity. Report writing is an activity. Dissemination is an activity. So we spend time discussing reporting and dissemination. Look at the cycles. So here, a shortcut towards thinking through the activities, looking at the cycle, the monitoring and evaluation cycle. And this course has taken us through the cycles of monitoring and evaluation. So when you look at the cycles of monitoring and evaluation, thinking through the cycle, then you will be able to generate your activities. So the output, we've talked about activities. Activities is report writing as an activity. Of course, what will be the output? Is the monitoring and evaluation report. Okay, that's one, monitoring and evaluation report. So looking at the theme that we are moving with, or the problem that we have already defined, or the objective, which has been clearly identified. Okay, the problem is low enrollment of learners in rural schools. Okay, we have already also identified the audience, the community, as it was earlier mentioned. Then what are the outcomes? What are the expected outcomes?
Mwalimu, can I allow me to take you back a bit.
Yes, please go ahead.
And I was interrupted, but now I'm okay. And I left you discussing about the activity and now the output. And I had some points on the output.
Yes, go ahead.
And yeah, there was this activity which was given by my colleagues on data collection, and the output, I can say the number of the dropouts could be per term compared to the present number of the learners in that particular school. And on community engagement and mobilization, as one of the activity also, which was also mentioned, is that we can talk over how many times the mobilization was done and how many persons were engaged in that period. Thank you. That's the output I had.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
As you were unpacking, you just reminded me that there is no, I would say, clear way that you can learn all this. You need to think through. And as you are presenting, I thought that activities, maybe is just my way of sharing with you as you go out there as monitoring and evaluation professionals. We need to look at, for example, the activities. You need to look at what we would call major activities and sub-activities. I mentioned that earlier on because an activity like data collection is a major activity in the sense that it will require other sub-activities, because and depending on the nature of the monitoring and evaluation in rural areas. So how many counties? Okay, what is your sample size? And will you manage? So data collection would generate other sub-activities or minor activities. And that one of them is training of people who are going to collect that data for you. Okay. So if you are going to administer questionnaire, fine. But if you are going to do interviews, then you may need to train the interviewers so that the protocol for interviews, you don't have others asking different questions, so that you encounter a challenge when it comes to data analysis. So it's not exhaustive. You could start by just documenting, and then you'll find that you could theme some as major. You need to transportation as an activity. You need to transport those who are going to collect data. So thank you for that addition. We are not taking us back. We're still within the discourse. So outputs.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Outputs, low enrollment of learners in the rural. So the expected outputs, we've said one is the report. And the report, again, must have the recommendations. And our monitoring and evaluation, for it to have an impact. So not that the outcome there is the report. Impact, the conversation about impact starts with the dissemination. So note that dissemination is part of the impact. And this is where most of the monitoring and evaluation end up just being reports, because you can start seeing as Samuel, I think Samuel was sharing why monitoring and why have a monitoring and evaluation plan. And we did mention that if you don't plan for dissemination, if you don't think through the channels of dissemination and who will be the consumers, you can see there you need to identify, as you are defining the project goals and logic, you must think through. You must think through who are the consumers of this. And that will help you to unpack the dissemination cycle. The dissemination of this report is the impact. Okay. Because you can't, I'm imagining you go and you are monitoring maybe the effect of asbestos. You are monitoring the impact of asbestos on what are the dangers. You collect information, and the people who are living in those asbestos, you leave them without having empowered them. So you have written a very good report. Hey, these waters, I think from Naivasha, has fluoride, you know, and we have monitored that those people who drink this water at Naivasha, they have colored teeth. Very good report. But what is the impact of the monitoring? If you don't disseminate to the people who have those colored teeth and tell them the cause of that is this water that you are drinking. So disseminate, you can have a good report on the shelf. But since the dissemination was not planned for, then it was not budgeted. So like now, Kemi is organizing a conference. Okay. I don't know whether have you been invited to the conference? I'm asking, have you been invited for a conference by Kemi?
No.
For me, I've never been invited yet.
No, mwalimu.
Hey. Who is the Kemi? Ni Kamau. Ulisema kuna Kamau hapa. I think we need to post on the wall. There is a conference by Kemi.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, we need to invite the monitoring and evaluation so that they can see the actual dissemination of monitoring and evaluation reports. Because the discussion people will be having in those themes, there is education, management. So after this, I think one of the Kemi officials, or I'll also follow up. That information will be posted on our WhatsApp. And please attend. You can attend online. So conferences, educational conferences, where people, those themes call for papers. And I just need to mention for me that all the research that people do falls within monitoring and evaluation, because you're investigating a certain problem. You'll collect data, you'll analyze, you'll write recommendations. So all research, for me, falls within the category of monitoring and evaluation. So in the conference by Kemi, you will find there are various themes. Like one of the themes is education management, then there is teaching and learning. I think there are around four themes. So there is the face-to-face presentation, and there is also online. So the impact, our point of emphasis is that see impact in terms of dissemination. So low enrollment of learners in rural. So what are some of the impact lesson do you foresee if you are to conduct monitoring and evaluation? What are some of the impact? What will be disseminating? What are some of the case scenarios that would lead to low enrollment that the community you are mobilizing should know, that should take care of as part of interventions? And why I'm dwelling a little bit more on the impact. Impact is tied to what drives monitoring and evaluation. You must have as part of the input. Okay, input we say is you conduct literature review to inform the development of tools, to inform the implementation of the data collection, or to inform the activities that you are going to undertake. But again, we conduct monitoring and evaluation. The theoretical underpinning of monitoring and evaluation is the theory of change. And I'd like you to read more about theory of change. And there are two. There is theory of change and change theory. They use this similar words, but they are different. Theory of change and change theory. Okay. So, and then the logical framework, so that you can see how the inputs, activities, outputs all tie in with the final objective, and that is the impact. So when you have that report, the impact would be sharing in conference, sharing in baraza. So looking at our problem of low enrollment, what are some of the interventions that will create impact would you share with the community in the rural area? So there you may need to think through in terms of the factors. And your literature review would give you the factors. Okay. So low enrollment would be in the rural area. Let's think about some of the rural areas. And economic activities. We're about to end the session. I want us to end strong with some suggestion.
Well, let me just repeat what you're asking. I don't think my internet is stable.
Okay, I'm asking, we are at the impact, and we have a problem. This problem is low enrollment. If we were to share, we're moving with a hypothetical case. We have conducted our monitoring, and now we want to share. Based on theory of change, the impact that you make is to ensure that you come up with interventions to mitigate the low enrollment. So you want to increase the enrollment. But now the impact is based on the dissemination that you do to the stakeholders. And in this case, we are talking about parents, the local rule or administration, like the chiefs. So what are some of the causes of low enrollment in rural areas? and what interventions can we put in place to create impact? That's the question.
Maybe I can give an attempt.
Okay, go ahead.
I can maybe say the level of poverty and the distance the learners need to travel to get the education. So the intervention, government may decide to bring in more of bursary. They can also motivate the learners by providing lunch, maybe twice or thrice, so that they can increase the enrollment.
Thank you. You see now, what you are speaking through is more of an input. The courses will largely be part of the input. If you conduct a thorough literature review, you'll find that the causes of low enrollment are not unique. It's like there are things that we know, but they will help you. That literature review as an input will help you to formulate a good questionnaire now to see that if literature review is talking about this as the cause, poverty as the cause for low enrollment, how do I capture it in my input? And the input here is the tool. Remember, we just spoke broadly, the tools, but the nature of the tool. Okay? So that now the intervention here, you're speaking impact as an intervention, we need bursary, or we need to lower the school fees, or we need to create jobs for the parents and guardians so that they can be able to pay the fee. So all these are tied, and that tying in is what theory of change is about. That we're not just conducting monitoring and evaluation, but the target here is to ensure that there is impact. So you are disseminating information, and for you, in your response, you have squarely picked on policymakers. So that's why we say in monitoring and evaluation, once you write the report, remember in the reporting, we mentioned that policy briefs. Okay, we could have policy briefs, you have practice briefs, and some of the rural areas, if you identify and you read some of the researches that have been conducted, for example, with all due respect, the economic activity in Mira growing region, you find that there's low enrollment. So you are talking about so many vijana mtapata kazi nzuri baada ya masomo. So the child reasons, I'm going to school to do what? To get education. And then after education, I get what? I get employed. After I get employed, I get what? Money. And what am I getting now? Sinapata pesa, navuna miraa. Boda as an issue. Okay, I just need a boda after form, because dropout is not just about, especially in the competency-based education, dropout is not about now the conception within competency-based education is that there will only be one certificate at senior school. Kwa hivyo hata wako junior school, wale wanasema ati walipata kijisea, that's not a certificate. The certificate will be issued at grade 12. That is in 2028, after you sit for the summative evaluation that is informed by so many other formative evaluations that have been done at various levels of education. So we have primary school, KPSEA, you go to junior school, KPSEA, then from KPSEA, then you go to senior school, so that you get Kenya Certificate of Basic Education. So it therefore means that anyone who in between does not get a Kenya Certificate of Basic Education is a dropout. So information to parents, what constitutes basic education? That is an impactful way. So there are so many economic activities that will distract learners from staying in school in the rural areas. If it is in agricultural places, you find that during planting time and harvesting time, learners drop out because they have cash. Okay, early marriages, na ukeketaji wa jinsia. So the FGM. So you will not be coming up with new information. However, your information, the reason of why you need to go and plan for data collection is that you can be able to contextualize that actually this is happening within a given context. So wanted to spend more time there on that first component of thinking through in coming up with a monitoring and evaluation plan. Because that first component we shall refer to it more when we are discussing the others. So, ladies and gentlemen, defining project goals and the logic, the reason, the rationale of conducting the monitoring and evaluation is an important step towards coming up with a comprehensive monitoring and evaluation plan. That slide, as we can see, it's few words, but we have tried to unpack that by putting the faces behind those sentences. But my emphasis again is there's no need of conducting and monitoring and evaluation if the purpose is not to bring about change and impact. So that step of thinking through and coming up, defining the project goals and logic, for me is very, very important, and it comes back to reporting and dissemination, which cannot be attained fully, comprehensively, if we don't think through clearly the inputs. And I've mentioned and underscored the importance of literature review to inform as a very key component of the input. Of course, with also the funds, how much, what is the budget that you have? Then for the activities, we have underscored the importance of designing the tools. Okay, designing the tools and data collection. We've mentioned that there could be major and minor activities, and you need to think through those. Then output, we have underscored the importance of having a report, monitoring report. Monitoring So I wish to stop there we meet on Friday to continue. So look at those other activities that are remaining. Then we meet on Friday, complete that section. Otherwise, mmoja wetu atuambie kwaheri so that we can leave. Otherwise, I might be saying kwaherini and maybe I was logged out. Isaac.
I hope to say that that was a good session because I was also a runner there. And I hope it also made you encouraged on exactly and make it practical in your working areas. It is very impactful. Thank you very much and good evening.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, all, and hopefully Kamau or you let's post the conference invitation so that would be a practical experience to see to listen in conferences with the monitoring and evaluation lenses now and see the dissemination aspect. So thank you very much and enjoy your evening. See you on Friday.
Thank you. Good evening.
I'll post it tomorrow in the WhatsApp group that we have collected comprehensive information of the thematic areas and also the program and the invitation and the link for those who like to attend virtually and those who attend and the fees that are actually also required. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. So you can exit at your own pleasure. Let's meet on Friday.